Hello my loves, and welcome back to my channel. Hello if you are new, my name is Andrea Johnson. I am your mystical muse, your manifestation mind, your spiritual inspiration, inspiring you to live out your soul's purpose. Today's topic actually comes from a post that I had made on a Wisdom Wednesday, which I do at my corporate 9-to-5 job. If you guys don't know, I do have a corporate 9-to-5 and I am in charge of the Wisdom Wednesday posts that I send out to all 500 employees of our division. This week's post was over what many of you probably know as which wolf are you feeding. It's the symbology of duality that exists within every single human being. It is the light and the dark, and the tale of the two wolves essentially is which one are you feeding your conscious awareness to will be what grows in your life. As we know, that's essentially duality with all humans. We each have both light and dark aspects within ourselves. So it's basically just illustrating where you feed your conscious attention to will be what creates in your life, and how you cannot escape light without dark, how you have to essentially have both in order to really gain the wisdom and the knowledge and the experiences of the dark to then understand your light. What it is, guys, is just understanding the self. And that's what I want to dive into today, is really how to understand yourself through, I want to call it aspects of shadow work. But what does it truly mean to understand thyself? From this video, you guys are going to have an understanding of what you truly are, the benefits of both light and dark aspects, and how it creates our life. We'll give you insight on how to analyze your life if shadow work is something that interests you, or maybe you just want to get to know yourself deeper and to be able to consciously create in your life, right? Because we can only consciously create with what we know, with what we are currently creating with, so that we can choose to make changes in our life for the better of our soul and our expansion. First off, guys, shadow work is just as it sounds. It's bringing to light what is currently in the shadows. So it's shining our conscious attention on things that we keep hidden. What I mean by things is just our thoughts, our emotions, our actions. It's basically patterns of energy, and we can only become conscious of what is in the dark when we shine light on it, when we give it attention, when we start to actually, I want to say, dive into why it is the way that we are. You know, if you really want to analyze it, you know, some people think of this as like reflecting back on childhood trauma, of understanding their traumas to then illustrate or put logic to the reasons and why they are the way that they are. So what makes you even want to dive into that aspect to begin with? What makes you want to understand yourself better? Well, when we say understand ourselves, it's really just why you're thinking the way that you're thinking, why you act the way that you do, or why don't you act the way that you would like to. So just the actions you take in your life. Why do you feel what you feel when certain things are happening? Or what is that voice narrating your life with? What is that voice in your mind creating your life with? So those are all just like deeper insights of, or honestly, it's kind of the first layer of what I like to think of it as, of who it is that we are. Getting to know the self is getting to know why you are the way that you are. And that is both good and, I want to say, negative aspects, but it is both light and dark aspects of yourself. Why do you like certain things in your life? Why do you not like other things in your life? And a lot of people first dive into these questions that they ask about themselves, or journal prompts, or shadow work reflections, or whatever, because they experience some form of a pain point in their life, and they're trying to not have said pain, right? So that is kind of where the light and the dark wolf come in, and it's showing us like that the darkness really isn't bad. And you'll hear a lot of people say, you know, if more of the Christian terms of like, that's the enemy talking to you, is the darkness, is that voice of doubt. It's the pain points in your life, or the uncomfortableness in your life, or the lies that you're telling yourself. You know, that voice in your head speaking negative to you. People want to say that that's the enemy. When in reality, I truly feel that it is just a guidance mechanism. It's the contrast, it's the duality, so we can better understand our light. It's whenever you start to analyze those pain points in your life of what feels uncomfortable for you, or what things trigger you or set you off. When you really analyze these things from a point of being of non-judgment and self-compassion, can you then put logic or tell yourself a story, essentially, is what you're doing, of why it is the way that you are, to better understand yourself, or even to better just accept who you are in the moment, right? But it is through this self-understanding and reflection of our pain points can we then choose consciously something different? Can we then choose a different reality? Can then we choose to be a different way? Can we choose to think, act, and feel a different way? We need to rewire our brains of what we are identifying ourselves with, of whatever it is, this uncomfortable feeling, or why it is the way that we are. We have to then bring in a new character, a new way of thinking, acting, and being, and embodying that in the now, and identifying new qualities, new ways of thinking, new ways of feeling, of being, right? In the now, in the present moment, the only thing to exist. So then that past version of us, or that programming that we had, wired these thoughts around, or this story around, or the way that we were being, consciously or unconsciously. Can we then start to create a new ego, a new person, right? But it is that breaking away of the identity, or better understanding ourselves. Can we choose to create a new self? You can choose to create a new self, but a lot of people have a hard time letting go of the old self and the ways that they identify them of thinking, acting, and feeling, right? So that is more so of what shadow work is for. It's just providing a deeper understanding of yourself and bringing to light some of the darkness or things that you weren't conscious of, and just giving you explanation. So a layer beyond that, guys, is something that I'm diving more into. Besides the letting go and the things like that, it's why we, I don't want to say identify, but why we find things desirable. More so of like talking about soul purpose is the next level that I'm talking of what I want to dive into, is understanding our soul on a level of why it wants to create what it wants to create, and to give us better insight about ourselves. And from what I am finding from analyzing my own life, and just kind of like in my clients' life and things like that, if you really break down your desires, guys, desires, and they'll teach you in the spiritual world, like desires aren't desirable. Desires are just like attachments, or they bring forth pain or things like that. But honestly, if you really think about what you desire to create in your life, it feels elevating, right? You desire to have a certain career in your life. You desire to have certain skills, certain experiences, certain relationships in your life, consciously or even unconsciously, because everything that you do in your life is honestly a desire. Whether you choose to do it or unconsciously do it, you're always elevating yourself to that next level of frequency, dependent upon the energy that you are in. If you understand desire from that level of perspective, that the soul is always going to follow the highest form of love that it knows in the moment, or that it can bring itself to stair step it up back to enlightenment, or back to God, essentially. You understand your desires are like a roadmap to God again, right? So it's just insight for you to understand, why are you desiring certain things in your life? What energy is this desire going to help create for you and your being? What healing energy is that desire going to bring forth to you? So an example that I like to give of this, or that I've just examined in my own life, is that I find the divine feminine energy very healing for me right now. And especially if you know of anything that's going on in my life, I probably sound like a broken record, but I am going through a separation with my husband. Now, this has, I want to say, damaged my feminine energy. So a lot of things that I find healing right now, I find myself drawn to baking, to decorating, to singing and dancing, dressing up, taking care of myself. A lot of like really feminine qualities. I'm finding even self-care aspects of like doing my nails again. Things like that are extremely healing for me, more so than they have ever been in my life before. And I have these desires now around this energy, right? And I'm like, wow, why am I feeling this way? Why am I doing these things? And it is because my soul is needing that energy to nurture myself. That divine feminine energy, the self-love energy, is very nurturing for me. So whereas now I don't have a husband, I don't have kids to then recreate that feeling, that I can use them as outlets. I say them as children. This is where people find children healing. I don't have any kids. But where I had my animals, my fur babies, I don't have them here, where I used to nurture them, where I used to do things that made me have that reciprocation of that nurturing feminine feeling, that's no longer there. So I had to, my soul was craving that feeling, that energy again. So then I started getting desires to do these things. And at first it was very an unconscious act. It was very surprising to me. But when I actually dove into it, I was creating that nurturing feeling for myself. I was able to actually create the energy within me through these actions that the desires, my soul was giving me desires to do. This is how people are channels, or for our energy to be reflected back to us, or the reciprocation to be reflected back to us. Because had I, had my husband before, or, a male figure in my life, I would be nurturing them, and therefore that energy would be reflected back to me. Or you can think of it as, whenever you put out an energy, it literally has to pass through your body, so you experience the same thing, right? So that's where I'm finding that our desires in life are healing for us. Our soul is giving us desires to guide us back to God. Desires can also go the other way as well too, because there will be things that God will place on your heart or in your mind to create in this world, and then we form like ideas or attachments to what we think should happen. We get an image per se, and we have imagination come through, and then we get this idea of something that we want to create in our life, and we feel the energy of that creation. So we assign this image of what we feel like the desire is, or how we're feeling on the inside, and we think it has to be done that way and create with it that way, when in reality, it's more about the feeling. It reminds me a little bit about psychic development, because when we do psychic readings with people, I'm feeling an energy, right? The energy is energy, and it's communicating specifically with me through all of my experiences. So when I feel into that energy, when I'm tapped into somebody's energy field, it's going to communicate with me in specific ways. So for example, if I tapped into somebody's field and I'm feeling like a male figure energy, and then I get images that come to mind that is like of an ex-boyfriend of mine, or per se, if something like that, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that that energy is her ex-boyfriend, or of the client's ex-boyfriend. It's a feeling. She's feeling that, but her assigned logic of that energy that she's experiencing could be, instead of like a male ex boyfriend, it could be like a father figure, but she had a bad experience with them, as the same experience or the feeling that I have around my ex-boyfriend. So I wouldn't bring up, your ex-boyfriend. I would describe the energy that I'm feeling. And this is where, side note, where people think as well too, that like psychic readings, they're so vague or blah, blah, blah. It's because you're literally describing the energy. You have to. Now, there are some points of where you do get exact knowings, and you know when you get them, but that's beyond the point. But anyway, this is what I find with desires, and where people kind of shut themselves off to possibilities in the universe, is because it's communicating through, yes, imagery with the imagination, but it's more so about the feeling. You have to follow the feeling with your desires to then be open to receive said manifestation, because it's all about the feeling. It's about the feeling that your soul is going to follow, whatever which way the universe decides to present material world to that feeling, as far as like the picture that you're getting, the hologram that you're getting of reality, the image that you have in your head of how you think something has to happen to make you feel a certain way. There can be other things in your life that bring forth that energy of that feeling, that embodiment of energy, right? To elevate you to that, I say desire, But what you thought you wanted, this is where it's what you thought you wanted and what is actually for you, right? So it leads you to that same frequency of the desire, but how it looks in your life is just different than what you thought, but you're still getting that healing energy. And it's through the journey as well too that, you know, we get brought back to God, not necessarily from achieving said desire, but it's the faith, it's the journey along the way. We get to know ourselves better and understanding how to have faith in the universe, how to conversate with the universe to get to know it better, right? When we feel that separation, you know, just like with the wolves, the light and the dark, when you feel that separation from love, when you have, say, the enemy's voice come through of this, the lack of self-worth, the negativity that I'll never receive this, I'll never get there, blah, blah, blah. It creates a discomforting feeling. And so we feel that separation from God, which then turns us to God because of how much pain that we endure from telling ourselves we can't have this thing, right? So then it's kind of like a turning back to God with our desire in itself. So that's kind of like where I've been diving into not only understanding the shadow aspects of life, but why I want to create what I want to create in life and understanding my soul's purpose. And you just kind of understand that your purpose really isn't a thing that you do, it's an energy that you embody, and you just kind of have to let the universe serve up whatever reality it wants to basically channel, or I say whatever kind of physical reality comes into your realm of existence in this material world. What energies help you embody what you feel your purpose is, right? So this is where it just looks different, and we can be open to higher ways of, I say, thinking, but higher ways of receiving. If we just let go of the idea of what it is that we truly want to do and just feel into the energy and follow it, you know, follow the breadcrumbs of the universe. I say the yeses of the universe, because essentially when you take the actions of where you feel into the elevated states of love, or you feel into those next steps of what intuitively you know will bring you fulfillment or love in your life, then it's like saying yes to the universe, and then it will bring you the next steps, because it won't do that until you actually take the steps to begin with. It can't. I've went on to analyze it too, and you'll hear spiritual people say this a lot, is the nature of spirit, not only just evolution and getting to know thyself and wisdom and love and enlightenment is basically what you are, but you will always be trying to expand. You will always be evolving. That is the nature of creation. That is the nature of spirit. But if you truly analyze the things that you are after in your life, if you break down every human desire on what it is that you're searching for, it is the characteristics or the personality or the elements of spirit, which is you will always be seeking some form of freedom in your life, because spirit is free. This human body just has a form of restriction on us that we do not like. But you will be constantly searching for freedom in your life, whatever that looks like for you. You will be searching for value, meaning you bringing value to other people, and from a heart-centered space, not from a place of ego of like, oh, I'm so good, or like, you know, of trying to gain popularity or something like that. And you will always be searching for greater heights of love in your life, because honestly, guys, I don't think that there's a limit to any of this. Because of the universe expanding, we will always be experiencing new heights of love and creating new heights of love and energy in our life, right? It's just going to keep getting more and more and more intense, I feel like. So anyways, I hope this video helped shed some light on the aspect of shadow work and just understanding thyself and what it truly means. There are ways in which you can do that. I have found just like asking myself questions and journal prompts, meditation, just sitting with myself and just analyzing my life and why it is the way that I am, and just holding compassion for myself. Even at the parts that I don't necessarily like in the moment, I have the freedom and the choice to change it if I so desire. You will always choose what is highest for your soul and what is serving you in the moment. And if you want to choose higher and you don't find yourself doing it, you just have to work on yourself enough in the moment to then do that. You just have to keep believing that what you are doing is guiding you to that next level aspect of yourself that you would like to create within this realm of reality, the material world, the human experience, the beautiful blessed being that you are, an aspect of light and dark, all wrapped up in a meat suit. Probably not where you thought that was going. Me neither. Anyway, sending you all my light and all my love. Satnam.